think what little bits and pieces I understand about military tactics in language, and language being like a binary program, and there have been words or terms, sentences, phrases that in principle mean no matter what tone they're spoken in, that they're to say, well, you're being binded either way, or you're being bonded to a group of people you wouldn't, whose company you wouldn't favour or choose normally. Terms can be wedges designed to get and drive a distance between yourself and others. And this happens with, if there's any psychological overtalk or narrative overtalk, it means in principle that you're in comprehension of a psychological case, which for me isn't, it might be debatably allowed if court judges and cops had facilitated the opportunity for liaising with mine and my sister's father after the 89 separation. If not, then that is, the state is obviously saying that's a heartbreak that is not going to be repairable ever. Why there's more merit to, I'm putting it to you, surveillance agencies who are themselves religiously disposed, is that if there even exists in their mind the curiosity that my sister or I would prefer violent enchargement or like it because of the attack between our parents, no matter how verbally, textually through messages, no matter what sort of argumentative differences we have, the rights to health, life, movement and expression we don't violate. But acknowledging religion is to acknowledge that these rights are absolutely to be violated, these more fundamental rights, when they're disgusting. Just the Moses story, for instance. I was talking about a guy from from the 13th century, Mr. Tyndale. His offence was that he translated the Bible into English for his English-speaking and reading community. And by order of the church, he was rounded up and burnt instantly to death. So he wasn't even a non-contestant to the church. He was not the member of a church that, he was not a Satanist. He was not part of a denomination that contested the denomination of the church he was in. What this scenario proves is that churches once liked it when you would have to go and bow before a priest and say, now, what verse in the Bible is relevant for you to read to me? I don't have time to take the whole book home and investigatively read it for myself. And then count on a priest selecting a verse and saying, well, this verse I think may help you. That also prevented the discovery of errors in the Bible, but that this gentleman, Mr. Tyndale, just wanted to make it so that his community could read Bibles, and the church, his own church of loyalty, said, round him up and burn him. Got to be a disgrace. So psychological terms are used as an overtalk, as the language of talking over you. You don't have, it's very much like saying, well, why does every question talked over someone else's surveying have to be, is this true or is this false? Because I mean, just consider what's being gutted there. Is abstract interpretationalism pertaining to any and every art form. Because why are you to watch it? Why are you to watch a cartoon under the scrutiny of asking yourself, is this true or is this false? Is this true or is this false? It's admitted from the start that you're not engaging in education, additional education in realism. So, why subject that dichotomy? And why not consider it to be a question-shaped wedge? Regardless, if the substance of what's been scrutinized is art, why you say is this true or false? It's as stupid as saying, going, okay, well, Roger Hall's company has finally accepted that Nintendo games constitute art forms, so is Super Mario Kart Sega or Sony PlayStation? And the guy would still ask more moronic questions like that, but yeah, so they got this let's move forward, the echoes of Gillard parodized and satirized in the Chases War on and everything, as they advertise that Julia Gillard GPS tracking system where you're just driving on the road and it's got Gillard's voice going, move forward, move forward, move forward. And you see that what they want to do is use terms like no, our profile initially wasn't in error, they're just now in remission, and they'll use it to staunch and trick my mum because she's had a career whereby she wanted awards for her loyalty, so it would be a conflict of interest to her professional role and duty to ever try and represent me as a next of kin in front of psychiatric panel. I was the one she asked her hand to walk her off from the aisle to her current husband at a previous wedding ceremony. So she knows on some level that I served as a guardian role to her without training from her. But have a think about what you're doing, saying we think video is making you mentally ill. Am I allowed to masturbate to a pornographic film? Am I supposed to feel that sick? Am I supposed to feel the pangs of a Christian preacher indicting pornography and saying that the reason that women shave or wax their pussies is because they're trying to make you think of them resembling children. Now this is actually represented in the opinion of a woman on Penn and Teller's Bullshit in an episode that addresses pornography in the 6th season of production, and what she says is I tried to think about why, and I think it's that old loaded Adam and Eve story where you've got everything. You've got purpose. The purpose is to save human life from extinction. To save human life from extinction, you've got to inbreed with Eve. Adam's got to have more kids. Make sure don't get mentioned in any papyrus manuscripts. Or you're to completely contest to abolishment in favour of a more proven and sound account for our origins, such as evolution, which incidentally, in many respects, the aspects of the Aboriginal Dreamtime philosophy are more attuned to what evolutionists are saying now. Life having a common ancestor. It doesn't mean we all each personally have a common ancestor. It means due to doctrines of bloodline purity, ancient kingdoms would have fucked each other, wondered why they weren't sexually satisfied for fucking their sister, cousin, mother, auntie, and then stormed out to an overlooking viewpoint of the common people and said, now execute this one by drowning, execute this one by a torch chamber, execute this one by hanging, execute this one by fire. I think the idea that kingdoms were to practice execution by drowning is why, to give some comfort from it seeming to be a random, because how are the population, common people, to know that all these people that were being executed weren't just being executed for things that were being done on a daily basis by everyone else, and therefore the panic and terror of who's next to be executed could extensively apply to anyone over anything. And so they might have had to tell them stories now and then to calm them down. Now one of those stories might have been of a worldwide flood, which is written in guise of executions ordered by drowning. So you've got the kingdom looking over the populace, and you've got the populace looking into local oceans and seeing dead bodies dumped there. And they're looking back to their kingdom and wondering why. So an ancient kingdom tells a story of a flood to engulf the entire world. Despite the fact that they've called it a flat world with four corners, so though you can walk off the edge of it, you evidently can load it up with mating pairs of every single animal. But rest assured, as reckless as the waves and the oceans are, you certainly won't sail off the edge of it. And then their inbred stories come through once again, as they put only one mating pair of every animal species on board this Noah's Ark, which meant that every single animal's offspring has to be inbred as well. So, I'm not permitting them to go, is he remitted? I mean, I suffer chronic physically disabling pain. I have been a known critic of religion since the millennium. And I have been taught what I've been taught in my years in pharmacy. It's not right. I've been eccentric and a loner largely in any way, and it isn't right for people to compliment me on opinions and then go, well, because what he has to say has its degree of controversy to it, we therefore suggest that his pain medication is being overused or used to excess. Because what's your metric of a state of normalcy for me, given the circumstances of my upbringing? You can ask me about that, but you can't assume it's on par with your 2.2 children family unit. So yeah, you're not saying he's got this video profile as in remission. You're still liable, susceptible to saying that you are not to interpret Doppelhurst for me. What if I was to say to you it was about making it involved making a personal address to oneself as a non-Christian, and to ask oneself, if one considers oneself part of the bisexual community or not. Then if you call me mentally sick because of that, then the mental health under the Mental Health Act here, I'm being told not to have a sexual health identity. So you can, and you also can't survey and go, we wonder what his mother thinks of the film, because she's what if she's done the same thing? You'll find she doesn't think bisexuals are natural. She thinks they're supernatural. They're to be killed. She's to favour and mutter a few dumb psalms and hymns, and think that this man's murder was to her benefit. Ceremonially drink his blood, though it were a gift freely given to her, and then eat his body as though it were a gift given to her as well. So if this man was a mistreated and undiscovered or unrecognized bisexual in the first century, it would make perfect sense that a kingdom of bloodline purist inbreeders, practices of incest, would kill him while being so fascinated about how or why they killed him, and that they would even encrypt their own contradictions and their own or disclose their own errors in their attempts to report him. However, one common theme throughout that book is that Marx, with the exception of Mark's Gospel, Mark's Gospel will leave you open to consider, well, was this man abducted? His confession not verified? His uphill march a suicide after abduction, false accusations that were unconfirmed, lashings, and the knowledge that he was about to be crucified, therefore having him in a suicidal state. And this is why you see hospitals panic when they're psych departments, and you'll see this at Calvary. At Calvary, you can go in with a skull fracture, and the doctor will go, "Oh, there's a psych record here. Are you out to harm yourself or someone else?" And this is just them disclosing that they're quite confused, because the Calvary means, by definition, we thank our Lord and Saviour Jesus Christ for marching up the hill to die for all of our defense. Whereas I'm arguing no, an innocent man, there is no standard by today's standard that you can say he should have died at all. And if you're going to look at psychological probabilities, and you are, because that's what we know, the terms we know you're thinking in when you talk to us about psychological reports in your possession, you're representing to us that you're conflicted because was he suicidal when marching up the hill, or was he going, I want doctors at Calvary Hospital in Canberra near Reed to be given numerous awards for their diligence of service, and in fact the doctor that had Luke pinned to the floor, I want her to know in particular that she's turned me, Jesus Nazareth, on so much that I'm so horny for her, though despite being murdered, I'm going to request they place a loincloth over my penis, because I don't want that doctor at Calvary Hospital to understand how much she's turned me on, because I'm so horny for her right now. Like, she might as well say that all of that was going on. The march up Calvary Hill is this idea that Jesus saw his impending death as I'm dying for you in the future, to have a personal relationship with you. No, he fucking wasn't. And superior respect is shown for him through recognition of killing of an innocent Vic. But this would be something that brought shame on an ancient kingdom. The ancient kingdom to exist in its time. You know, if the Jews were all slaves, for instance, in captivity, then was the accusatory question, are you the king of the Jews, even a valid one? Could it be out to do anything but confuse? Could either way, to respond as it's responded to in the Gospel of Mark with the statement, "Are you said? Well, you said it," is proof that it's closer to being proof that Jesus didn't comprehend the accusatory question than that it is proof that he was leaning towards saying yes or saying no. So there's a world of difference between Mark's Gospel, the earliest one, which has no resurrection from the dead, and John's Gospel, the one that churches use to try to recruit you, which claims that his death was for your benefit. And that's why Calvary Hospital is an insult by name and an insult by reputation, because if they look at a profile and go, we won't treat you for pain despite a skull fracture, because according to these psych notes, you're out to harm yourself or someone else. So, and I thought your profile said the only thing was me. Now you're saying I'm out to harm myself or someone else. What you're not coming to terms with is that your Calvary Christ was going through thoughts and feelings of suicide, and thus did not die for the abolishment of the sins of anyone. And furthermore, as a female doctor, you should be insulted for your fellow Australian women, that you think that the consumption of an apple deserves or merits to be classed as an original sin that cursed planet Earth and has meant centuries upon centuries of mistreatment and subordination of women, as well as the definition of women and women being characterized as a handbag for man, or an accessory that there would be no need for women to have been invented unless it were to satisfy the needs of men. And that's a disgusting point of view. It's one that should insult you. It's especially one that should insult that doctor at Calvary, but it's not one that she should have taken out on me, because those records from how she served me will be records, and she may well wind up in court. So let's move forward.